So imagine this. You're holding tightly onto the steering wheel of life, knuckles white, eyes fixed on the road ahead. You believe that the tighter you hold on, the more in control you are. That if you just plan enough, organize enough, predict enough, then everything will go as it should. But life doesn't always respond to pressure. In fact, quite often, it resists it. And the paradox is this. The moment you finally loosen your grip, life begins to flow, and you start to breathe. What if the very thing standing between you and a deeper, more meaningful life is control? In the next few minutes, we will explore how the desire to control everything around us, our future, our image, our emotions, and even the people we love, can silently imprison us. More importantly, we'll uncover why letting go is not a sign of weakness or failure, but the beginning of true inner power. The last insight we'll explore is the most powerful of all. It may completely change the way you see yourself and the world around you. So stay with me. This is not just a discussion. This could be the beginning of a profound shift in your consciousness. Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychiatrist and one of the most influential thinkers in psychology, believed that much of our suffering comes from our resistance to life as it truly is. He argued that the unconscious mind, what he called the shadow, holds immense power, and that our attempt to suppress, control, or deny the shadow is precisely what keeps us in inner conflict. Think about that. Have you ever felt exhausted not by what's happening around you, but by your constant need to manage it all? The endless striving to keep things in order, to make sure nothing goes wrong, to shape outcomes that are ultimately beyond your reach? Here's a hard truth. Control is an illusion, a comforting, convincing illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. Jung taught that the ego, our conscious sense of self, is obsessed with control. It wants to protect us from uncertainty, it wants to predict, prevent, and perfect. But life does not operate according to the ego's rules. Life is not linear, it is not logical, it is not always kind. It is wild, chaotic, beautiful, and often completely unpredictable. And that's not a flaw in the system, it's the essence of existence. Consider this. How much energy do we waste trying to force things to happen on our timeline? How often do we cling to people, situations, or identities that no longer serve us simply because we fear losing control? And what would happen if we loosened our grip even slightly? Letting go is not giving up. It is surrendering to the deeper intelligence of life. It is recognizing that there are forces at play within us and around us that are far greater than our individual will. This does not mean we become passive. It means we stop trying to push the river and instead learn how to flow with it. The Taoist philosopher Lao Tzu said, "By letting it go, it all gets done." In this simple line, he echoes a truth that modern psychology has only recently begun to grasp, that surrender, when done consciously, is an act of supreme courage. Carl Jung referred often to the process of individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are. This process cannot occur if you are obsessed with maintaining control, because the real self, the authentic self, lives beyond control. It lives in the unknown. To become whole, you must allow parts of yourself to emerge that you've previously denied. You must welcome uncertainty, you must make peace with chaos, and you must let go not of responsibility, but of resistance. Let me ask you this. What in your life right now are you holding on to tightly? Is it an expectation, a belief, a person, a version of yourself that no longer feels real? The deeper question is, what are you afraid will happen if you let go? This fear, this anxiety, is natural. Jung explained that the shadow, the part of the psyche we often reject, holds not just our darkness, but our hidden power. And when we suppress or deny it, we don't become safer, we become more fragmented. So often, we try to control life because we are afraid of what will be revealed if we stop pretending. But real growth doesn't come from controlling the narrative. It comes from facing what is true, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how uncertain. Letting go of control is not the end of the road, it's the beginning of transformation. And this transformation starts with awareness. Awareness of how your need for control shows up. Do you micromanage everything? Do you become anxious when things don't go as planned? Do you struggle to trust others, to delegate, to be vulnerable? These are signs not of failure, but of a mind that has been conditioned to believe that safety equals control. But what if safety could come from trust? Not blind trust in everything turning out perfectly, but trust in your own ability to meet life as it comes. Jung believed that what we resist persists, and that only by integrating the unconscious can we truly heal. That means looking at your fears, not trying to eliminate them, but understanding them, sitting with them, listening to what they're trying to protect you from. Letting go, then, is not something you do once and forget. It is a daily practice, a spiritual discipline, a psychological reorientation. It is choosing moment by moment to breathe rather than clench, to respond rather than react, to accept rather than deny. And in doing so, something miraculous begins to happen. Life meets you where you are, not where you pretend to be, not where you plan to be, but where you actually are. And from that place, from that surrender, new possibilities begin to emerge, unexpected paths, deep connections, inner peace. Let me ask you again, what might you discover if you let go? What would it feel like to stop trying to be in control of everything and instead become more in tune with the natural rhythm of life? Could it be that what you've been looking for all along isn't certainty, but flow? And that flow begins not when you know all the answers, but when you allow the questions to lead you. There's a quiet wisdom in the natural world, one that rarely screams, but always speaks. Look at a river. It doesn't fight the obstacles in its path. It moves around them, sometimes slowly, sometimes with force, but always with purpose. And in its flow, it shapes the very landscape that tries to contain it. Now contrast this with how we often live, resisting, forcing, striving, trying to impose our plans, our beliefs, our pace onto life. And when life doesn't cooperate, we tighten our grip even more. But here's the paradox. The more we try to control, the more we suffer, because control ultimately is a response to fear. It's a defense mechanism, a way to avoid vulnerability, disappointment, or pain. But avoidance is not freedom. Carl Jung's work taught us that transformation begins where control ends. He observed that the human psyche contains immense potential, but only when we stop pretending that we are fully in charge. He once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Let that sink in. So many of our struggles, anxieties, and patterns come not from the external world, but from within. Hidden beliefs, suppressed emotions, unmet needs. And our obsession with control keeps these parts buried, hidden from view. We think we are managing life, when in truth, we are managing our fear of life. Have you ever tried to control how someone sees you, or worried obsessively about how things will turn out, or refused to let go of something even when every sign told you it was time? These are not failures, they're symptoms. They show that there's something deeper we haven't yet learned to trust. That's the core issue, trust. Letting go requires it, and trust, real trust, is not naive. It's not the blind hope that nothing bad will happen. It's the deep inner knowing that whatever does happen, you will meet it with presence, with grace, and with courage. This is not weakness. It's the strength that arises when you stop wasting energy on what you cannot control and begin investing it in what you can, your awareness, your attitude, your choices. Psychologist Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of the Holocaust, wrote that between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies our power to choose. That space is where freedom lives, and when you let go of control, you begin to widen that space. You begin to respond instead of react. You begin to live more consciously. This is not theory, it's practice, and it starts small. Can you breathe through discomfort rather than fight it? Can you sit with uncertainty rather than run from it? Can you hold space for not knowing rather than rushing to find answers? Every time you do this, you reclaim a part of yourself that fear once held captive. And as you do, something profound begins to happen. Your identity starts to shift. You are no longer the one desperately holding the reins. You become the one who can ride the wave. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of individuation. It's not about becoming someone new, it's about becoming whole. It's about welcoming every part of you, the brave, the broken, the messy, the wise, and allowing them all to coexist without needing to control or suppress any of them. Now, let's go even deeper. The compulsion to control often masks something much older, much more ancient in us. A wound, perhaps from childhood, perhaps from early life experiences, that taught us the world is dangerous, that love must be earned, that safety must be constructed and defended. In response, we build walls, we create systems, we become masters of detail, of planning, of perfectionism. But behind all of it, there's a simple, aching need to feel safe, to feel that it's okay to be, to feel that we don't have to manage everything in order to survive. When we let go of control, we don't become reckless. We become real. We become available to the moment. We allow ourselves to connect more deeply with others because we're no longer performing. We allow ourselves to feel more fully because we are no longer afraid of being overwhelmed. And we allow ourselves to live more authentically because we are no longer clinging to a fixed idea of how things should be. Let me ask you again, where in your life are you holding on too tightly? What might shift if you loosened your grip? What if your need to control is no longer serving you, but actually keeping you stuck? The great spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle once said, "Sometimes letting things go is an act of far greater power than defending or hanging on." So ask yourself, is your tight grip making you stronger or just more tired? And here's the secret most people miss.